I've come up with an algorithm to work out what is the best E-mount lens, and today we're looking at the 35-150 f2 to 2.8 from Tamron. Coming in at 1,165 grams, this lens is heavy, and not to be ignored, it's also pretty big. It has a front filter size of 82mm, which is a little unique compared to what's common from Sony, a macro ratio of 1 to 5.7 at the wide end or 1 to 5.9 at the tele end, and a close focusing distance of 33 to 85 centimeters, which isn't actually that bad, plus a varying aperture of f2 to 2.8, which I'll address later. At the time of recording, this retails for about 2,566 New Zealand dollars or 1,800 US dollars, which is good. It does gain a few points for that. Covering 35 to 150mm is a pretty impressive range. It does not have any lens stabilization, but I will point out that it has 3 function buttons: a custom switch, a zoom lock, AF/MF switch, and a USB-C port for updates and customizing everything. Though I don't think these are worth any extra points on the algorithm, just nice to haves. But I did factor in, I think it's actually got great image quality, the build quality is stunning. There are no extra points for what I call the uniqueness factor bonus for its focal length. It makes up for all this with its focal range and aperture, but the focal lengths it hits are easy to get covered elsewhere. But what about my thoughts on this lens? Grabbing a big handful of personal opinions, there are a few things to consider with any third-party lens on E-mount. The main two I feel are worth considering are no focus breathing compensation or active stabilization support if you choose to use this lens for video. And be aware it does extend a ton when changing its focal length. But I feel the biggest thing to get around is it doesn't have a tripod mount. As this lens is big and heavy, finding a tripod collar support I would say is pretty crucial. But luckily there are a bunch of these available. Just make sure you find one that attaches around this part of the lens, not at the back near the mount, as this would make it impossible to rotate your camera to a portrait position. Its variable aperture is a little bit of a pain, but if this lens was just a straight 2.8 the whole way through, we'd be more than happy. So I'd suggest just treating it like that and considering the f2 at the 35mm end a little secret weapon you can tap into when needed. Overall, the 35-150 f2 to 2.8 gets a final score of 6.49 out of 10. It's big and heavy, but it is just one accessory away from being awesome.